Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there, so please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money, so check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks. Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try and make your world a little weirder. I'm Kyle.
Hey, it's Niall back again. I don't know why I've started saying back again. That's not really like a thing. I don't really
sort
need
of a
that to become
Hobbit.
like. Yeah, there and back again, of course. A Hobbit's tale. I don't really need that to become a thing for me. But this week, I think, Kyle, I think it's fair to say we've all got Superman fever. Which I think is like also known as kryptonite sickness, whatever the fuck. But
Yeah.
how many times have you seen it?
All is doing some heavy lifting. I have not seen it yet.
What?
I've mostly seen incredibly boring discourse about the film on whenever I glimpse my social media feed, which well, okay, that's not entirely true. I have seen people go like, I went and saw it and it was good, and that's like where it ends. Mm-hmm. But then I've also seen people who are engaging with the discourse against their better judgment. And yeah. I've learned to just, as soon as I see that on a feed somewhere, boop, click, exit, I'm done. So I really don't know. I know that here's what I know about Superman, Niall. I know that the problem is that it's woke.
Well, see, I think that it's great that we've finally gotten such hits as like the fact that we finally got the relationship between Metallo and Mr. Mxyzptlk, their husbands. They've got that put on screen. Like we're doing all that good shit now. I haven't actually seen Superman, but I have seen so many fucking ads for this movie.
Yeah,
and like a lot of this. I think this movie is probably going to be perfectly enjoyable. I have no like actual qualms with it. And like I kind of like the tone of the trailer, the first one. I don't know how many trailers there have been, but like it's cool to see a movie that like a superhero movie that's like, not. It's actually hopeful and seems to be kind of sincere, but like I've seen more things that are like trying to be that are obvious plants of people who were like paid to talk up the movie on social media for like this than I've seen almost anything else. It's really weird. I hope it works out for them. But their plants are weird and obvious.
I do hope that the social media plants works out to make them money too. I would agree with that. Yeah, I think Hollywood has just burned any goodwill that I ever had left for superhero movies. I think I'm just so done that this really isn't on my radar except for how I described it. So. I don't know. Hey,
well, we did a bad job at being sponsored by Superman. I'm actually one of those people that's supposed to be getting the word out there.
You didn't. Okay, Niall, you should have told me this off mic. Niall, you should have told me this before I launched into my whole thing, because like that was me I was just being honest. I would 100%. I would completely and utterly just give up on anything I believed in if I didn't know we had the Superman people. Paying us
we got
cash.
Look, Daddy Zaslav is breaking us off some stacks to push Superman into #1 in the box office.
Well, shit. Okay. I guess I'm glad I know now. Anyways, edit mark goes here.
Superman in theaters now. Go see it. No. So Kyle, what do you have? Are we talking about Superman today?
We're gonna come back around to Superman in a moment, but I did want to read an email, if that's okay. We have an email here. What is the form? Okay, here we go. So we have an email here from Forrest, and here's what it says. Hey guys, don't know if you remember me, but I'm the guy who emailed you the Waffle House alien crash site theory several years ago. Yes, I remember you.
I do remember that, yeah.
I'm also a longtime Patreon supporter. It's the best $5 I spend every month. Hey, that's a great... Speaking of advertising, that's a great advertisement. Check out patreon.com/itgetsweird. Anyways, I felt compelled to send you an email about a mirrored men story I heard from a friend's dad. I'm normally a bit of a skeptic when it comes to any kind of interdimensional type stuff like that, sure. But I'm 100% convinced this story is true. Okay. A few years ago, a group of my friends all went on a trip up to northern Arizona for an annual car show. We're all hot rod / classic car people. One of our friends' parents live up there. So on the last day of our trip, we all stopped at their house to grill and hang out with them. Later that night, while we were all sitting around on the back porch, my friend's dad told a story about a strange occurrence from, if I remember correctly, when his wife, in parentheticals friend's mom, and he were first dating, probably in the early to mid 1970s. They were all from around Tucson, Arizona. I won't go into the particulars of the story as I can't remember very well, and it's also his story to tell, but it was textbook mirrored men right down to the last detail. Okay, before I go on here, I just want to say I actually don't know what constitutes textbook mirrored men. I kind of am getting a vibe on what mirror men are, but this is a new idea to me, I think. So it goes on to say this. Now, when I first heard the mirrored men thing, I was not convinced at all. It is a relatively new story, not a lot of history behind the phenomenon before it was featured on Monsters Among Us, etc. It just struck me as being made up, even though I quite liked the idea. But then I heard my friend's dad tell his story, and I have never been so convinced of anything being real in my entire life. He is not a UFO type person. He doesn't indulge in the same type of weird stuff that people like you or me or other listeners do. I just don't think paranormal stuff is really his bag. He definitely would not have come across any mirrored men stuff online, if he even goes online much at all. At the time I heard the story from him, as it was still pretty hard to find anything about it at that time. I just know that his experience was legitimate. It wasn't told as a ghost story, but rather just an aside to a completely unrelated story he was telling about a job he used to have, or a car he owned, or something normal like that. I never said anything. Sorry, I skimmed ahead because I'm gonna tell you right now. I think I need more details about this, but here's what they say. I never said anything to him about it being a potential phenomenon with other alleged witnesses. I was too blown away at the time and didn't want to freak him out. Plus, I'm the only one in that group that's even into that stuff, I'm pretty sure. I don't really know what to do with this information, but I really feel like his story needs to get out there and maybe get him in touch with other people who saw the same thing. I haven't talked to him in a few years now, but if you think it's worth pursuing, I can reach out to him and see if he would tell me the story again in greater detail, or maybe let me record him telling it or something. Anyways, I'd love to hear both your thoughts on this. Thanks for all the work you do, Forrest. All right, look, I'm known to kind of like poke fun at our listeners and their emails because I enjoy receiving their emails, and I like to crack jokes. That's just my you didn't send us the story, Forrest.
Yeah, look, there is a story. He's got to go out and do the field recordings.
Sure.
And we'll get we'll have to get that from him later.
I feel like we talked around mirrored men here.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but Forrest, if you want our commentary here, go ahead and send a follow-up email explaining what the fuck that was about.
Do you know what mirrored men are?
No, I mean, again, I can guess at what that might be, but we didn't actually get a story here, and I don't know whether that was intentional or not, or if it's just that Forrest doesn't have the details and is so. If you can give us
asking
details,
if they want us to, if we want them to go get the story.
If you can give us details, that would be cool, because I'm curious what this is. But am I to assume that mirror men are like entities that live inside a mirror that might be paranormal or
No,
interdimensional?
It's mirrored men.
Mirrored.
And it's like multiple of the same person, like working in unison, like usually in like suits or something.
Oh.
So it's kind of like Men in Black kind of thing, how all of them are like the same lack of facial features and shit.
Okay.
They're in the more like kind of out there, if you don't think of Men in Black as, if you think of Men in Black as like a cryptid, it's like that kind of thing.
Interesting. I do love the Men in Black stories. So if this is but I'd never heard of this before. So look, I was joking around, but thank you for bringing this to our attention.
I mean, hey, look, maybe it's time to do a Mirrored Men episode.
Sure. But I would definitely love to know more about this story because I don't. I want to know more. Let me leave it at that. But thank you for the email.
Yeah.
Let us know if you can more details about the Mirrored Men. It has a properly like fantastical name that I appreciate.
Yeah, it's a good name.
So, okay. Thank you for the email. Back to Superman. So you were talking about going to see this Superman film by Jonathan Gunn. Right? Or Jamathan.
Yep. The guy, the fashion designer. Yep. No, I think crypto's the real thing going forward. Like, I think they need to invest heavily in crypto. The Wonder Dog, the Super Dog. No.
Oh.
Superman's trusted pal, crypto.
Okay.
Because everyone loves a dog, and what we need is more live action movies that are centered around CGI animals.
Absolutely. You know what honestly would be very funny is if they advertise that crypto is in the movie and they show the dog and they're just like, Superman's here and so's crypto. Superman's gonna be with crypto in this movie. And then you go see it and it actually is 90 minutes of Superman investing in a coin in some sort of digital currency. Because then you could throw your hands up at the end of the movie and be like, wow, what a rug pull.
And then the sequel is Superman versus the blockchain when fucking wow, why can't I pull Superman villains now? The
MODOK.
Megamind fucking the Brainiac. When Brainiac takes over unregulated currencies.
That would
Brainiac would love
I would actually
Bitcoin.
watch that. I would be into that if there was Superman had to fight like Brainiac, but Brainiac is like investing in crypto coin and like he uses Superman's likeness as an NFT and Superman's like pissed off about it. I would watch that.
And
actually.
Superman has to get troned to go fight Brainiac in the computer.
Into the NFT. Yeah, I would watch that. That would be fucking
Superman
sick.
into the NFT.
Oh man, isn't it so sick how NFTs are fucking dead and like everybody who is acting like that shit was gonna be revolutionary in the next big Web 3.0?
Easiest called shot
Isn't
ever.
that? I love that shit didn't work out. That's fantastic. So now, in retrospect, with the embarrassment that is NFTs, we can make the Superman versus Brainiac NFT film. I would love to see that.
This movie's gonna be shot. This movie's gonna be set in the like 2-year span when NFTs were a thing.
Yeah.
We gotta make it
that.
Really period appropriate.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Superman stuff, and I'm glad I'm now informed on where our relationship here and the money changing hands and stuff. Edit mark here. I'm glad you brought up Superman because if you think Superman is a character who is a symbol of peace and hope and care for humankind, and I think people the world over know Superman. And Superman has died canonically in the comics before
a couple times.
And what I find fascinating about that, because Superman is sort of like the Ubermensch, is the ultimate example of like, ironically, he's an alien, but he is the ultimate example of what a human can be, the best version of ourselves. And he's died for us. He's
it's
died.
very true.
He's died for us.
In kind of a symbolic way, too.
Exactly, in a symbolic way. And don't you think that when Superman dies, when they take Superman and they like nail him to the crucifix Don't you
As
think
they do.
symbolically we're absolved of our sin?
I do think he took the weight of the doomsday. He actually what is the doomsday? The apocalypse.
Yeah.
So like he took that. Oh no, sorry. That is actually just straight up apocalypse, not doomsday. That's a whole separate thing.
Doomsday, apocalypse, it's all the same stuff.
Yeah. But you know, he took apocalypse down.
Yeah.
To save us all. So
Yeah, exactly.
Through that, we're all reborn. And it's up to you from here on out.
Thank you. I'll take it from here.
Jesus.
Niall, I think what I'm getting at is that Superman is I'll stop beating around
A
the
very
bush.
RoboCop-like figure.
Yeah. He's very RoboCop-like. And RoboCop is very Christ-like, I think.
It's true.
So today, Niall, I want to begin our episode with something a little atypical.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce our episode by reading a portion of an article, for a very recent article that as soon as I read this, I was like, this is going on the show. This article's on a beloved subject here at It Gets Weird. This is Bigfoot's white-haired cousin, the Yeti.
Okay.
That does factor into this story.
Oh, did I see a headline? Like, I might have seen a headline earlier today that I'm very curious. Please.
Okay. So this is an article written by a guy named Ed Condon for The Pillar, which is an online Catholic journal. And
I didn't read this article. I made a note to circle back to it later. So I'm delighted that you're going to take care of this for me.
The article is titled Yeti Blood Oath Divides Denver Seminary.
There's a Yeti cult in the midst of the fucking Pacific Northwest Archdiocese.
Not exactly.
No? Okay.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. If you want to be a conspiracy theorist about it, sure, you could say that maybe this story's a bit of a cover. If you're the person out there who believes that the Yeti cult exists, then this is a bit of a limited hangout scenario for the Yeti cult. The Catholic Yeti cult, I should be more specific. Yeah. But I'm just going to read. I wanted to read a good chunk of this article for you because it's awesome and I love it. And this article is going to lead us into the next portion of our episode. And
I'm delighted.
I'm calling this episode Christianity and Bigfoot.
Hell yes.
So here's what it says. Again, this is Ed Condon for The Pillar, the online Catholic journal that you and I both read religiously.
My homepage, yeah.
Here's what it says. Clergy in the Archdiocese of Denver are divided over the handling of a controversial blood oath ceremony involving a vice rector and seminarians during a ski trip last year. So back in 2024, a group of seminarians studying at Denver's St. John Vianney Theological Seminary were taken on a trip in January 2024 by then Vice Rector of the seminary, Father John Neppel, during which they were woken in the they were woken in the middle of the night and invited individually to swear a quote-unquote blood oath in a ceremony involving a dagger and a man in a Yeti costume.
Is this some sort of like fucking papal hazing? Like what are we doing here?
Basically, Niall. Although there's a legal distinction between hazing and what they decided this was.
Fantastic.
During the bizarre ceremony, video of which was sent to The Pillar by multiple sources in the Archdiocese, seminarians were told to scream as if in pain before returning with a bloodied cloth wrapped around their hand and their mouths taped shut to a room where others waited for their turn to be brought in. The Archdiocese of Denver, in a statement to The Pillar, characterized the event as a, quote, farce, and that, quote, it was, however, part of a deeply imprudent and inappropriate prank, and that a full investigation had been completed. Quote, the individual responsible has since been removed from his seminary leadership role and has recommitted to his ongoing personal and spiritual formation, the archdiocese said. The fallout of the event has divided students, faculty, and clergy in the diocese, with videos and images of the event circulating for several months. So this had happened in 2024, and then I think previously in 2023, but it was in 2024 that somebody managed to get a video of it and then give it to Catholic journalists.
Wow. All right.
Father Nepil told the Pillar he had, quote, acknowledged his imprudence, apologized to the archbishop and the seminarians involved, and said that while the event was intended as a prank, he took responsibility for what had happened. While some in Denver have characterized the affair as unacceptable hijinks and imprudence, others consider the ritual spiritually troubling and deeply problematic, with video footage being forwarded to the apostolic nuncature. I actually don't know how to pronounce that word. Nuncature in Washington, and some dioceses considering whether to withdraw students from study at the Denver Seminary in the wake of the event. So I just want to point out that people are disturbed that this guy made YETI eyes wide shut make-believe play. Like that.
Yeah,
that's disturbing, quote unquote.
Some YETI kink play.
I mean, like, look, it's stupid, but like, it's like crazy to me that this, because you're about to find out how seriously they took this. So, further division has been caused by what some local clergy call a contradictory and confused handling of the issue by the archdiocese. So there's this whole thing where, like, he got to continue work. Father Nepil got to, like, continue work later after this stuff came out. But then, like, once the story went public, that's when they were handling it weird. It goes on to say,
sure.
But while the archdiocese said in its statement to the Pillar that Father Nepil, quote, was removed from his position as a formator and house father immediately after the incident was uncovered, he returned to his post as vice rector until the end of the 2024 to 2025 academic year and remains on the seminary's academic faculty as a professor. Following an archdiocesan investigation last year, the seminary rector was also removed from his position and was replaced midway through the academic year. In January of 2024, Father Nepil took some 15 seminarians on a ski trip to a house in the mountains in the Crested Butte area belonging to a Catholic family close to Father Nepil, according to several clergy familiar with events. Okay, so here we're going to...
How normal are these ski trips?
I don't know. It's weird, right?
This is weird. Is that, like...
I'm not going to bat for this guy.
Do teachers take people on ski trips? That's weird.
I don't know. Right. But here, let's learn what happened that fateful night that the blood oath was sworn by the YETI man.
What kind of oath were they in on?
So here's what it says. In the middle of the night, the seminarians were woken and told to sit in silence in the living room before being invited individually into a trailer on the house's grounds. When they entered the trailer, the seminarians were met by Father Nepil, who can be seen in the video setting up a camera to record the occasion, along with a senior seminarian and participant on the trip and a person dressed in a YETI costume. Each seminarian was then invited to sit at a table on which there was a dagger and what appeared to be blood and a dollar bill on a piece of paper. In one video of the ritual seen by the Pillar, the seminarian is asked if he, quote, has any ideas what's going to happen, to which the seminarian responds, no.
Of course, yeah.
You're about to enter into a sacred tradition, he is told. Are you ready for it? The seminarian is also informed that, quote, people who come up here, and not everyone makes it, enter into the tradition. The way it works, the only way you can enter into this family is you got to make a blood oath, he is told in the video, while it is explained that the group started with another seminarian whom they knew would have the balls to go through with the initiation. We're hoping you have them too. If you enter into this family, there's no going back, the seminarian is informed. Now, it's not pretty as you can see, the seminarian is told, seated in front of the bloody surface and knife, but if there's enough courage in there, we can get through it. At this point, the seminarian nods his assent, and Father Nepil can be seen leaning into the camera shot, holding the dagger, as the seminarian bares his left arm and places it on the table. This is going to hurt for a second. Ready? Father Nepil says, before counting down from 3, at which point a voice says, stop, there is another option. The seminarian is told that, quote, having already shown your bravery, the ritual can be completed with bare blood. As, quote, Grizzly's bear blood, and that's in scare quotes, is poured on his hand, the seminarian is told that there is no going back and is asked to make the most guttural scream you can possibly make to show commitment to this tradition for the benefit of the others waiting to be initiated. After he screams, Father Nepple and the Yeti figure shake the seminarian's hand, and he is told to, quote, go out there and make sure the other guys see you with blood, but you don't tell them what's going on.
This is such the whole like, oh, you've already shown your bravery, so we don't have to cut you. Is so.
Yeah.
This is such like it's kind of a half-assed ritual. Like
a little half-assed.
It's I get that it's all just like this. Actually, I don't know why this guy's doing this. I don't even know. But it just feels like there should be another step, you know?
I mean, isn't the church always trying to figure out ways to really hook the young people, to really get them excited and involved in the church? So maybe the path forward is Yeti blood oath pranks.
Yeah, fake secret societies.
Yeah.
That maybe.
Maybe.
They cycle through themes, so you have like a Mothman year, you got a Yeti year, you got like, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it fresh.
So there's an investigation, right? And they go in and they say, well, it's been revealed that there was no actual oath that's taken place. Nobody was actually at risk of being hurt here. But the thing that they keep coming back to, everybody who like admonishes this guy, or even in his own self-admission, Father Nepple will say, it was deeply imprudent and inappropriate. And it was a prank. Yeah. So Father Nepple basically says it's understandable that people are upset by this video. At the time, this seemed like a prank on a skiing trip. None of the props in the video are real. And he says, I deeply regret my role in what took place, and I can assure you I will never participate in anything like this again.
My role? You did the whole thing. Like, you weren't in the Yeti costume because you were the one holding the knife, but this was like your thing.
This was your thing, but rest assured, I will not be doing any Yeti blood oath related pranks in the future. I might do pranks, but Yetis and blood oaths will not be involved here. We're not going back to those themes. We're going to find a new theme. Okay.
You know, I don't think from that apology, I don't think he's deeply sorry.
Maybe
I think
not.
he'd do it again if he could.
Well, he says, it is important to emphasize that the Archdiocese completed a detailed investigation and confirmed that there were no oaths taken and no one suffered any physical harm. So to your point, Niall, he said, look, they looked into it. They looked into what I did.
Did a bad job.
And they said, I'm on the up and up. There's no Father Nepple files. It's all good. Okay?
Yeah.
He goes, so apparently the other thing that I thought was absolutely ridiculous is that the man in the Yeti costume, this is, I guess, maybe the guy who hosted them on the ski trip. And Father Nepple says, this Catholic man is well known in the town and is regularly asked to appear at events in this costume. He has done this specific prank many times with family, friends, and other guests who stay at his ski cabin. At no time was there any risk of physical harm, but in hindsight, and even though the host wanted to do this, it should never have happened. Okay, so Father Nepple is now redirecting blame to the Yeti.
Setting up a Yeti fall guy.
This is a Yeti patsy for the Catholic Yeti blood oath cult ritual.
Wow. And okay, there's like 4 different things that we have to talk about in that run about this guy because first of all, there's a well-known Catholic man in this town that has a Yeti costume who, for whatever reason, is known around town enough that he is being booked for like kids' birthday parties and to scare people at like fucking dinner dates and shit.
He also does the Yeti blood oath prank with family and friends.
That's the other thing. Is that he also he also has done this before. Like I know that the Archdiocese did it in like 2023 and 2024, but that makes it sound like this guy's just been like doing this to like family friends for like 10 years. You know, it's I mean, I guess if you buy like a very realistic Yeti costume, you gotta come up with reasons to use it. And if like blood oaths, it's a great starting point.
Oh, him, John? Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, everybody knows him. He's Catholic. He dresses as a Yeti. He'll prank you with blood oaths. Like, everybody knows about this, okay?
And don't go over to his house. He will try to make you fake join a Yeti cult. But he's Catholic Yeti John. Like, everyone knows him as that.
Yeah.
People call him CYJ all the time.
Exactly.
And that's just who he is.
CYJ, future member of CKY. I don't know why that is where that went, but whatever. You could picture this Catholic man dressed as a Yeti playing with CKY. Anyways,
sure. He's one of the bitter beings.
Yeah. Yes, he is. After this whole debacle, I certainly would imagine he's a bit bitter. So they once again talk about how imprudent this shit is.
So imprudent.
It's so imprudent. And Father Nepple says, in the moment, we thought it was a funny activity, and there was nothing wrong with the seminarians seeing the prank later as a group. It was only intended to be So his whole thing here is that, look, we videotaped it. That's why there's a videotaping of it. And we thought it would be funny if we did this to people, and then we let them look at it again, and they could have a hearty chuckle about it. But that made it to, these journalists. Asked if it was ever acceptable for a formator to participate in or allow pranks of this kind, especially given it involved some Sumerians being photographed in their night clothes, Nepple told the Pillar simply no, and it never should have happened.
I mean, look, I was kind of against this at the beginning, but like the further we go, the more like it. This is like really riding a line of consent in such situations.
That's true.
But it's also kind of funny.
It is kind of funny.
It's these fucking like bored Catholic guys are just like pulling Yeti pranks to pass the time because they don't have anything better to do, and like it was stupid. Wow. Okay. All right.
I'm just like,
maybe I'm coming around to this.
Can you picture like Bam Margera like sneaking into his parents' room at 2 a.m. with a man in a Yeti costume? Like,
yeah, he would
Dad,
have
get you
a
to
Yeti
sign
beat up his dad.
the Yeti blood oath. I can't do a Bam Margera. Just look him up. If you know, you know.
And we're gonna wake up my dad with a Yeti.
Yeah, like, we're waking up my dad with a fucking Yeti. So people, I guess, have pushed back on the spiritual concerns raised over the issue of this ritual. Again, I should have checked to see how many times they used the word imprudent in this article.
That was their PR firm gave them that word.
But here's the thing that's crazy is, okay, so listen to this. The Denver Archdiocese confirmed in a statement to the Pillar this week that several months after the incident took place, the Archdiocese was made aware of the incident and initiated a formal investigation. They determine it's an imprudent and inappropriate prank, whatever. But where is it? It says, due to the scandal this has caused, the imprudence involved, and the uncharitable nature of the prank, the individual responsible was removed. Blah, blah, blah. Also, he has since been removed from his seminary leadership role and has recommitted to his ongoing personal and spiritual formation. Okay, good. So he's getting back to the spiritual stuff. That's important.
Yeah.
And then it says, the official response to the events was rendered more confusing, according to local priests and seminary students, because the archdiocesan exorcist was called in by the archbishop to address the affair.
They brought in an exorcist? Oh my God.
So the exorcist got involved. All the seminarians involved were to meet with the exorcist, who prayed over them, and they made a formal renunciation of this blood oath that they had made.
But I thought they said earlier that there was no oath.
Just in case, Niall.
Yeah, this is okay. Spiritual. This is like spiritual insurance.
Yes,
they're bringing in the exorcist just to make sure.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Another priest confirming the meetings with the exorcist said that, quote, there was nothing explicitly occult or what have you in the ceremony, which looked pretty ridiculous to me in the video, but the significance of a blood oath is what it is, even if it's supposed to be a kind of joke. The Archdiocese confirmed to The Pillar in its statement that the investigation had included a proactive consultation with an exorcist out of an abundance of caution due to potential spiritual harm from such oaths. Father...
They really did. If I would have just waited like 2 sentences, I would have gotten... They said exactly what I was thinking, what I was saying. So, all right.
Father Nepple told The Pillar that, quote, I respect how seriously the Archbishop took this situation. So
do you like is that worthy of respect? Like I don't even know. I'm so of like 7 different minds on this thing that like every paragraph of this article I become a different person.
Yeah, no, I agree. Father Nepple, here's what I'm gonna say. Okay, I see here that it says that you respect how seriously the Archbishop took the situation, but let me tell you, the whimsy of the Blood Oath Yeti prank makes me consider that maybe you have a different angle on this, that maybe you don't actually respect it. Like, this is a deeply unserious thing to do. And I guess what I'm saying is come on our show. Here you have the framing of comedy podcast. You can say whatever you want. You can be honest. You can crack jokes of the Archbishop, his butt smelled. And you could tell us something like that.
Come do the podcast version of that OJ book, the like if I did it, here's how I would have done it, where you just like lay down the more fanciful version of this story that includes all the like I want to know the like the process of coming up with the ritual. Mm-hmm. Did they like have something more elaborate planned and then like it didn't go well the first time, so they kind of started cutting stuff away? Like, did they refine this over time? Did it come to them full formed? I think we need a 6-part 2-hour each episode podcast series on this.
Yeah, and Father Nepple, I think you should also come on the show and do your best impression, like comedic impression of the Pope. Yeah. So just come on here and just lay into him. No, all things are forgiven at the end of a comedy podcast. You can say whatever you want.
All guests on It Gets Weird are allowed to do full on Pope impressions.
One papal comedic reference is permitted. This is by law.
It goes in the writer when you get sent when you agree to come on a podcast.
Yeah. So there are protections in place for you, Father Nepple. Please contact us. I know you're out there listening. So that is the intro to my... I found it kind of fun that the crux of the matter here was the joke blood oath and not the guy dressing as a Himalayan Sasquatch. That I really liked, that people were very fixated on the blood oath thing. Like, well, did you actually do a blood oath? Did you do the make-believe blood oath? Because that's important. But nobody in this article is just like, so the guy was dressed as a Yeti.
Well, that's because this guy is known around town. This guy's
being
famous
Yeti,
for his fucking Yeti
He's famous
costume.
for the Yeti thing.
So no one is surprised that the Yeti is there.
That's fair.
But the Yeti being involved with this fucking blasphemy...
Yeah.
That's where we draw the line.
Good point. Well, all of this led me to a question, Niall. Okay?
Yeah.
How does the church view cryptids, cryptozoology, and more specifically Bigfoot?
Interesting.
Because
I would love to know what you found out about this.
I didn't find anything in that article that gave me like a good basis for understanding where Bigfoot stands or kneels in the church. So, and like, think about this. We've talked on a number of occasions about the relationship theology and the Christian, especially Catholic Church, have with the concept of extraterrestrial beings, because they've entertained the idea. But what about our biological terrestrial mysteries? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
I hope you found some good stuff.
In keeping things focused, I decided it would be best to explore ideas with one particular Christian sect that we keep coming back to. So I looked at what some Catholics had to say. I found one in particular. Catholicism, of course, like I said, it's sort of like a favorite target in the conspiracy world of weird stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot more like in bureaucracy and infrastructure in the Catholic Church than like, you got figureheads, you got more ceremony. It's it's older.
There's a lot of good reasons that it becomes the target of that stuff. Some legitimate and some pomp and circumstance.
When Martin Luther said no bullshit, you lost a lot of opportunity for conspiracy.
Martin Luther today would be saying stuff like no cap on God. Sheesh.
You have like 3 slang words that are for modern day that are all from like 5 years ago, and it's very fun to hear how you use them all the time. I see. I have less than that, so
I know very little, but I will say, let's find out why cryptozoology and God and Jesus Christ are so skibbity. So
yeah.
I found this 3-part series of articles on the Catholic Exchange website about cryptozoology and faith. Written by theologist Matthew Rose in the summer of 2019, he explores the idea of cryptids in Catholicism in his articles with these titles. Article 1, Cryptids, Monsters, and the Mysteries of Our Faith. That's Article 1. Article 2, Would you evangelize Sasquatch? Article 3, Biblical Creation and Mysterious Monsters. So, in the first article, Rose broadly explores the idea of whether or not the search for cryptids like Bigfoot is akin to the proverbial search for God. I will give you a very short answer, which is no.
Okay.
So, no, it's not, but Rose makes this point to give this lead up to why the two aren't exactly compatible, but maybe we could like learn something from cryptozoology or cryptid creatures. He starts off, of course, by defining terminology, right? Which I think is presumably for the Catholics reading it who aren't as familiar with cryptozoological lore, because he defines cryptozoology and cryptid and stuff. But he also compares some actual biblical stories to cryptozoology. So here's what he says. Admittedly, cryptozoology is not a recognized branch of mainstream science, and many cryptozoologists find themselves on the receiving end of skeptics' derisive comments. That certainly has not stopped the study's popularity. Books, TV shows, and movies all reflect our love for these monsters and other fantastic creatures. However, such popular representations do little to lend cryptozoology more credibility. Monsters, it seems, remains the realm of intellectual immaturity. Nor is cryptozoology a standard realm for theological discourse, though there are exceptions. So this is where he gets into something kind of classic, and it comes up a couple times here, but he says, one could, of course, look at strange creatures in Scripture, such as the Leviathan and the Behemoth, or the dragon in Daniel, through a cryptozoological lens. Biblical scholars who adhere to a literalistic interpretation of Scripture will cite such passages as proof that dinosaurs survived into recent times, and that the Earth could not be as old as geology seems to indicate. Such young Earth creationists posit there is proof for a younger age of the Earth in reports of living dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures, which intersects with theology with cryptozoology. So, a lot of the theme here is like, you have to be a biblical literalist to derive actual cryptozoological points from the Bible. Because he doesn't actually take a literal approach to the stories of like the Leviathan or the Behemoth. He sees them as more metaphorical, which we'll get to that. But Rose he admits that any sort of connection between the Bible and cryptids is tangential at best, even outside of the literal, or I guess even within the literal interpretation of it. But perhaps we could nonetheless leverage the popular image of the cryptid on the church-going audience. And he says here, quote, perhaps we can use stories of Sasquatch, Ogopogo, and the Ropin as a spark to deepen discussions of God and his plan for us.
Okay. How?
Some youth minister energy.
Yeah.
So no, go ahead.
How would you? I'm trying to figure out the lesson plan for that. Like, how does the Ogopogo teach you about deepening your spiritual well, or you know, like, because I've had some real bullshit sermons in my time in youth stuff, along with in regular. I've never had someone try to make a cryptid based one.
Well, okay,
that's kind of intriguing.
In this first article, he's sort of saying, like, you know, okay, we can't look at cryptozoology and like, we can't do this very well unless we take a literal approach to the Bible, which I'm not inclined to do. I think that you have to have a spiritual reading of it. And what he kind of ends up doing is comparing the search for cryptids, the sort of eagerness with which people like go out and like try to find Bigfoot, try to find Ogopogo, try to find the Jersey Devil, whatever. He sort of compares that. He basically says, like, you could compare that, but let's also like make the distinction between why the search for a biological entity that is purely theoretical, or just like people believe it exists, that is not an apt comparison to the experience of like following the path to God, basically.
Yeah, you're not gonna start forming religions around the search for Bigfoot, or at least not in the church, because the church
yeah, not in the church, but that I think does exist.
It is funny to think about, like, they have to be like, look, guys, us saying that God is real is not like you saying Bigfoot is real, because that's what they're doing there.
That
they're
is like, exactly what they're doing.
Because God is real and very big and very important and very true, whereas the stuff that you believe in that has, you know, about as much evidence is bullshit and should not be considered relevant to the search for God.
Yes.
You know, I guess they're doing their due diligence there. I get they got to protect their man, the G-man. But
yes.
yeah.
You're exactly right. He takes a moment here to take a jab at the new atheists. He talks about these guys, Terry Eagleton and Bishop Robert Barron, and he talks about how they refer to the quote-unquote YETI theory of God. And what this basically is them saying, God, okay, if God exists, right? This is the new atheist line of thinking, or at least the way they present it. He's like, if God exists, then it must be this great being, the greatest possible being in the universe. And if this greatest possible being exists, we must be able to, there must be some measurable component to it. Now, what I find stupid about that is, like, I don't know if the new atheists actually argue that there must be some measurable component of the greatest being in the universe, God, because really what we're leading to is the Catholic people saying, well, God does not exist within the universe. God exists in all and sits outside of the universe, basically.
Yeah.
So
he's outside the firmament.
Yeah, exactly. So basically they're saying, like, we should, like, the new atheists are like, we're scientists and we should be able to experiment and confirm capital H his existence, his existence, whatever. We should be able to confirm his existence through, like, analysis. Like, there's a measurable property that we can call God. Like, again, I don't know whether that's actually what an atheist would tell you, unless they're, like, really dumb, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, like, what the canon like beliefs of the new atheists are in terms of that kind of stuff, but it does seem this seems a little straw man-y.
Yeah, and it's like it's like almost the basest impulse of, like, the like neck beard hat tipping atheist, right? Like, it just does not, it seems like a caricature. So
but hey, Ricky Gervais can do like 70 minutes on just that.
That's
so,
very
like,
true. I can't argue with that. But so Rose basically is just like, here's the thing. You want to talk about a biological entity, but God is not some sort of mysterious biological entity. He's not even a creature. God doesn't have a body. He is not bound by time and space, height and breadth, weight and mass. God is not the subject of the sciences. So, the short version, science can't measure God. That's
science can't measure a Yeti either.
Well, that's true, but if a Yeti existed, it theoretically could measure the Yeti. God, just by his very nature, cannot be measured in that way. And that's the point that he's making. So he's like, yeah, there's like cryptid sounding stuff that sounds like cryptids in the Bible to our 2019 minds, but there's nothing literally connecting the Bible.
But a lot of them are just analogs for Rome. Like,
that's true.
It's you know.
It's true. So, you know, honestly, the more interesting stuff is him arguing about whether or not Bigfoot has a soul.
Oh shit!
But,
yeah. Talk to me.
So yeah, he goes on to say that just because we can't prove the existence of God through scientific means doesn't also mean that we disprove him because of that either. Which, like, honestly, fair enough. But the argument kind of goes the other way around as well, right? Like, just because you have faith in God doesn't mean it doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, to me, I'm very agnostic. It doesn't really matter. The argument doesn't matter that much to me, you know, like, whatever. Anyways, our existence, he points out, is dependent on God's existence, as God is being itself, which I guess this is a St. Thomas Aquinas thing, ipsum esse, which is just existence itself. That is God. He explains that if something is real, then its existence depends on that one necessary thing, that first cause of God. And I like his little bit here where he says, quote, "Our restless hearts longing for God are quite unlike the trigger-happy hunters looking to bag a Bigfoot or some other cryptid. We seek not to empirically prove the divine, but rather seek how to have a relationship with him. We know God not through an experiment, but by experience. The cryptozoologist has the tall responsibility of seeking physical proof that a mystery creature exists, trying to find a proverbial needle in the haystack. In our journey towards God, our proof isn't a missing needle. The haystack itself shouts the glory of God."
That's that's some well worded bullshit.
It's yeah. It's good. So I think that settles the long-standing question: is the hunt for cryptids similar to the path we take to God? Of course not. But the mysterious cryptid creatures at least can point us in the direction of a good conversation about the Almighty's nature, right? I think that's what we're proving here. So,
it all goes together.
So now you're thinking to yourself, that's great, but pray tell, does Bigfoot have a soul? Could we?
I really want to know.
Could we baptize Bigfoot?
Yeah, can Bigfoot enter the gates of heaven? Will St. Paul, Peter?
Will they let
him through those pearly gates?
Will the kingdom of heaven let him in? Can he still get into heaven if he cryptids himself? I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah. I know what you little King Park.
Yeah,
for
a little
those,
bit.
for people out there.
So I learned a lot about who is and is not allowed to have a soul in here. And I also, I feel like maybe this is outdated information because as a non-Catholic outside observer who just digests people talking about things online, I seem to recall a thing with the Pope where the Pope was just oh, the dog they can go to heaven, they have a soul. I seem to remember that happening before that guy, killed himself or whatever he did.
Now, were you sure you weren't just watching All Dogs Go to Heaven?
I mean, it's possible I got the two confused. In fact, it's likely. But I swear to God this was a thing that people were talking about online, that the Pope before the current Chicago Pope, whatever that guy's name was, he was he's like, I'm going to get rid of the baby, baby death, that's grim, but wasn't there a whole thing about how babies who die actually go to purgatory, and that pope was like, actually that's wrong now. And then he also confirmed that like pets have souls, or at least dogs, I think. I might be crazy and making shit up, but I seem to recall this being a thing that happened like a couple years ago.
Look, I'm a couple issues behind on my Catholic newspaper,
Yeah, fair. Me too,
magazine
honestly.
reporting stuff. So I missed some things in terms of what types of creatures can get into heaven.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I think that this person's writing in 2019, right? So back in 2019, I think it's safe to assume that the official stance of the Catholic Church, which this guy is writing as a deeply invested Catholic, animals do not have souls. I hate to tell you this. I really regretful, because like I personally don't agree. Whatever a soul is, whether that I guess to a Catholic it would be like this spiritual essence.
Yeah.
I would personally say that the thing that looks like a soul is like our consciousness, right? I believe that animals also partake in consciousness, maybe not on the same level, but I think they have that. But this fucking guy's arguing that no, animals are basically soulless little things. Like it's so. In part 2, which is titled "Would You Evangelize Bigfoot?" Rose cuts to the heart of the question that burns in us all: Does Bigfoot have a soul? Rose lays out different explanation for what Bigfoot is, and what Bigfoot is can tell you whether or not there's an immortal soul bestowed by God there. So, is he an unidentified ape creature? Or is Bigfoot some sort of evolutionary animal-like predecessor, like this near-beast human prototype?
Yeah.
And Rose says that in both of those cases, Bigfoot would not have a soul.
It's a sad day for Bigfoot fans out there. I was really hoping Bigfoot I'd be able to meet Bigfoot in heaven, you know, because I think my baptism still holds. I think I'm still good for eternity.
Is there not like anything that you can say or do that would just totally fuck up the baptismal energy that has remained in your soul since then? Can you fuck that up?
I'm pretty sure I got one of the really lax baptisms where it just like once a one and done, you know? I think.
But can you perform like a, maybe let's say theoretically, an occult YETI blood ritual that says I give up my baptismal abilities? I
do think that if I were to get an exorcist, they could do some sort of rite to me to kind of take that out.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So I do have that to worry about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is if you act on that. Right.
Yeah.
So as long as you just stay the course and never like do any occult rituals about it, then you're good to go.
Yeah, that's been my plan so far, and it's been working out okay.
Me, unfortunately, I do believe I've heard that I am damned to hell, but you know, what you gonna do? Let's see here. So Rose is like, in the cases that this thing is like an animal type creature, then it would not have a soul. And he basically, but then he says like, however, if Bigfoot is somehow a sort of modern surviving Neanderthal that's closer to humans, now we can speculate about its soul. So for Rose, it seems that like the key differentiating factors between having a soul and not having a soul is a higher level of abstraction in our intellect, and indicators of this higher intellect, indicators of having this higher intellect through things like, quote, having a culture or having a society. So he's just saying like there is like a divine spark that separates us from the animals, and that is this higher intellect, and with higher intellect comes certain abilities that animals don't have. And he has a whole thing, actually here, I'll just read this. He says, if these creatures are of some undiscovered species of primate, then they would likewise just be animals. We have studied known higher primates, such as gorillas, orangutans, and chimpanzees, for a while, and much has been written about their intelligence and ability to communicate through sign language. It would seem at first glance that this indicates that such primates are like us, having intellects and wills. Yet, They do not have the same level of abstraction we have. Gorillas taught American Sign Language, Gorillas taught American Sign Language, sign and describe what they want, and even combine signs to coin, so to speak, new words. However, they cannot describe ideas like fundamental rights or virtuous living. That, it seems, is still the realm of human reason, even if we do not always follow such logic.
Okay. All right. I think I get this whole, like, oh, we've got higher brain function things, but, like, what do we use it for, you know? Like, I think,
doing
honestly...
YETI pranks.
Yeah. Okay, actually, that's pretty sick, so maybe we're okay. Maybe I agree with this whole thing.
It's also just, like, you think that, like, Coco wasn't signing to fucking Jane Austen or whatever the fuck her name is about, like, you know, what is a gorilla? What is a man? What is a woman? What is the thing itself? You think that Coco wasn't doing that shit? I personally believe Coco was in there, you know, asking the question, building, you know, the republic, and asking what is justice, you know, what is the good. I think frankly, I think that this is really a failure of Rose's exposure, like lack of exposure to chimps and chimp-like creatures.
And also dolphins.
And also, he doesn't even talk about dolphins in these fucking articles, frankly.
I can't believe he doesn't mention
dolphins. Rose basically says that he leans more towards, like, if Bigfoot is real, then it's probably some undiscovered primate. But he's like, I want to at least entertain the soul having Neanderthal theory just for the sake of this argument of, like, if that's what Bigfoot is, then he can have a soul. So he goes on to say,
does he have any thoughts on Bigfoot being Cain?
You know, it's funny because I was looking for people talking about that, and he doesn't have anything to say about that. But I think that what you're describing is a Mormon thing. I think that came from Mormonism. I was
just curious. I was curious if I think it would be interesting to ask a Christian about the Mormon concept of Bigfoot.
Yes, that's another weird thing that I've always wanted to, like, somehow fit into an episode. Which, like, for people who don't know, there is this relatively fringe belief that I think is somehow. This is the thing that I can't recall off the top of my head. It's somehow born of Mormonism, this idea. Like, somewhere in Mormonism, somebody posited this, which is that Bigfoot, the cryptid phenomenon Bigfoot, is Cain, right? Who murdered Abel. Somehow still alive to this day. He's like he's whatever entity Cain is supposed to represent. That's the biblical Cain is walking around, and he's covered in hair, and he's got big goddamn feet. So
true.
That's the idea. So he goes, basically, let's just assume that creatures like the Yeti or even Bigfoot, these are surviving Neanderthals somehow, and that would mean that they are basically human, which means that they are rational, which means that they have an intellect and free will. And those things all mean that they also have an immortal soul. So can you baptize Bigfoot in that case? Now, what's really interesting is Rose actually makes reference. If you remember, Niall, we did the episode on the Catholic Church's like the Vatican telescope and the insane conspiracies around that. About, I don't even remember, but this guy Rose, he brings up this book by Brother Guy Consolmagno and Father Paul Mueller, which is titled "Would You Baptize an Extraterrestrial?" Which that came up in the Vatican telescope episode, and he basically says that the way you answer this question on whether you can baptize these theoretical entities is a question of do do they experience the fall from grace? Like, do they experience the fall of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden when they take the bite of the apple?
Yeah.
If they have the fall built into them, that's when you can baptize them.
So they have to be baptized, you have to be marked by original sin.
Yes, essentially. You would have to have the original sin of the fall, whatever form that takes. So, like, let's say you're on the planet Zebulon, and you have Gladym and Gleve, and they bite the apple. If that shit happens, right?
But how 1-to-1 do we have to be here? Because, like, this is presupposing there has to be some sort of Christian framework for this thing to be functional. So, like, I guess that is saying that Christianity is limited by those who believe in it, which I think is kind of a strange,
it's sort of.
I know that's not that weird, but it I feel like that makes some interesting lines that I would be very curious to hear someone try to, like, square together.
Yeah,
you know?
it is an odd idea. What they're getting at, and what's funny is they don't really address it in the way you just described it, but what they say is, like, this guy's like, well, if these creatures didn't experience the fall that humanity did, the original sin, then there would be no need to baptize them. So they're even coming up with, like, a theoretical, outside the biblical world, like, non-fallen intellectual entity. So apparently you could just never have that happen. We had that happen, and that sucks for us. And we're all sinful.
But that presupposes that, like, anything that an action taken by someone who's not in a lineage where the fall happened, like an alien race, what they're doing, no matter what it is, isn't sin.
Say that again?
So if you don't, so, like, basically, because the thing that created sin in the world is original sin.
Right.
It's the first thing that happened that kind of let loose kind of the Pandora's
like
box
what
of sin
knowledge
on the
of our
world.
Nakedness in the Garden of Eden, right? Like
it's basically receiving people, like, there's a lot of different thoughts on what that actually means metaphorically, but yes, it's they were aware of their nakedness and had kind of a self-awareness. And so, like, so anyone who doesn't have that thing built in, it feels like there's some weird line where it's like they can't sin, so they can't be, there's, like, which is like what Christianity believes in.
Right.
I don't know. There's like,
I see.
There's this, like, weird thing where it's just basically like even the Draconian, the like reptilians, the draconian reptilians who are, like, in the lore are just, like, murdering everyone and, like, being whatever. It's like, oh no, they're free of sin because they didn't have the original sin in their bloodline.
See, I see your point now. I think that the people who are trying to talk about this, who are just like, let's have a philosophical discussion about the theology of beings outside of humanity that have a similar intellect, right? Let's talk about that. And so it almost sounds like, well, they live outside of sin. They're not capable of sin. It almost feels like it's speaking to this, like, there is an alien. Like, if we met an alien, its way of life and thinking and existence would be so alien that we might not even, like, recognize anything about it, right? So perhaps that being without original sin is just a totally alien concept that we can't actually understand, right?
Yeah, and it also it feels like, man, this is a whole fucking. I just need to work on my sci-fi pitch here. It feels like that also is kind of leading to this thing of the aliens not having free will,
right?
Because the whole reason we have free will is because of that enlightenment of the bite of the the forbidden fruit. It basically, this is aliens could be in Christianity could be a very interesting topic to, like, dive into.
Aliens are deterministic and without original sin in this in this explanation. So the point that I was kind of getting at, though, is like the people who are trying to talk about this topic in this way are probably like barely even aware of the lore of the like Draconis reptilian whatever, like that the totally different breed of like religion weirdo, you know what I mean? Like I don't think those people actually cross over quite as much as it would seem. Like I think that those people really do tend to sit in their own sort of echo chamber on that stuff, and I don't think that if you're sitting there, I think that you are, if you're sitting there talking about the reptilian agenda to soul scalp humanity and like put us in a lower dimensional vibration or whatever, you're not the person who is taking this subject as seriously as Rose the theologist, right? Like that's all I'm saying.
Someone who has the money should make a podcast where you have those types of people confront each other and debate.
I would listen to that.
Christian like alien people versus the actual
a
theologists.
Theologist entertaining the idea. 100%. So he goes on to say that this.
Sorry, no, I got really sidetracked there for a while.
No. See, I knew that this would trigger really good conversation with you specifically, which is why I really wanted to talk about this. Like, half of it was like, I have to tell Niall about the Yeti blood ritual. The other half is like, I can't wait to throw the idea of Bigfoot having a soul at Niall. So it goes on to say, Neanderthals, however, were humans from our family. Looking for a moment at human evolution, we see man using reason, intellect, and will thousands of years before modern humans arrived on the scene. We can point to his elaborate tools where man takes nature and transforms it into his vision of utility. From that point forward, we can speak of mankind properly speaking. Okay. Our original parents were of that time, the first of a new creature with intellect and will, in a word, a rational soul. Homo sapiens stem from this original pair and thus have shared in the gifts and fall of our original parents. So we could, in theory, baptize a living Neanderthal. That assumes, of course, we could communicate effectively with him or her, and our cryptid cousin could consent to the baptism. Forced conversions are not condoned, after all, even for our long-lost living human relative.
Okay.
So we can baptize Bigfoot in this one specific situation. What is... something's wrong. I have holes in my brain today.
Yeah. All right. Specifical. I do like that we have come up with a hypothetical scenario in which Bigfoot could have a baptism.
Yeah.
Done. That is comforting to me.
If you want to be a baptist... I'm gonna need you to take me out back and shoot me after this episode. If you want to be
real baptized person,
if you want to be a Bigfoot evangelist and baptizer, you have to get your lore straight. That's the message here.
Yeah.
Get your lore straight on Bigfoot. What is he? You know, in your heart of hearts, that Bigfoot is a close evolutionary predecessor. And people are like, what do you mean? You're like, well, not so far that he's an ape, but close enough that he's sort of human-like and has culture and society and stuff, and the divine intellect. So the divine spark that allows us to have intellect. So there you have it. We can save Bigfoot from eternal damnation, provided he is a part of humanity. Now, the third article in Rose's series, it's a little less about stuff that we're interested in. Mainly, he discusses the difference between literal and spiritual interpretations of the good book, although I kind of mentioned this, he does illustrate this by calling out the New Earth creationist types who claim that the Earth is only a couple thousand years old and that survived dinosaur cryptids are evidence of that fact. So he does this by, going back to that age-old citation of like Bible weirdos who want to believe that the Bible's literally talking about cryptids and aliens. He talks about Job 40:40-41, which is where he gets this tour of like creation, and they talk about the behemoth and the leviathan, where they describe this massive animal, the behemoth, as having a quote tail like cedar, and then and it says, like, he's not disturbed by a rushing river. And then the Leviathan, the beast that breathes fire and cannot be tamed except by God. So he's like, look, literal interpretations of this, you're just going to go, that's creatures. Right? Yeah. And to the young Earth creationists, like, I can't remember the guy's name, but if you remember, there's like we talked about the guy who like snagged all the domains about the roping, and how he was kind of like one of those guys. So you can picture the kind of guy. But so he's just like, look, you're saying that these are living dinosaurs, but like you're kind of just missing the point, because there's nothing to derive from saying this. It's literally just saying these are dinosaurs and they're in the Bible. That's all you're saying. So he's saying that this is more about... So here's his actual interpretation. He says, the behemoth and the leviathan seem almost godlike, more powerful than anything one could encounter in real life. That, then, is the key. They are impossible creatures combining all the power of earth in the behemoth and chaos in the leviathan. The world and chaos are not objects of worship as the pagans thought. They are subject to God, to whom all glory should be given. So... first of all, I'm actually pretty inclined to believe this interpretation. I don't know that much about the Bible, but when I see somebody be like, this is why paganism is wrong, I'm like, that's probably what the Bible's saying.
Yeah.
So he's just saying that, like, these are sort of metaphorical representations of concepts that God has domain over, not literally, Job, check out this fucking plesiosaur.
Yeah. Those are definitely... I mean, the whole thing of Job is parable. Like, Job, people who take Job literally are really, like, that's the thing that Job is one of those things that I used to, like, get really mad at.
Yeah.
As a kid, it was the thing that, like, really got stuck in my brain of, like, this makes no fucking sense to me in terms of, like, what I think God should be. And then, like, okay, it's a parable, sure. But trying to take that literally is really silly.
Yeah.
It's just, God did not take Job up into heaven and be like, hey, look down on the earth and see everything. There's, like, big things fighting. It just didn't happen.
Isn't Job also the one where, like, God and the devil have a bet over the test of his faith and stuff?
They kill his family, and then they just, like, give him a new family at the end.
Right. So, and it
replace his family like and in the same sentence, I think, as literal cattle.
Oh wow, okay, that's interesting. Well,
yeah, it's one of those parables that is interesting to try to parse.
So is God picking Job up by the scruff of his neck and carrying him up to heaven, being like, look upon my creation? Is that the end of the story, basically, where he like, it's like Job is like, because I know at one point Job like goes knock 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 on God's door, and he's like, dude, what the fuck? My wife is dead.
He eventually, the big thing is eventually him basically crying out and like asking God why, because he'd been, that's like the big low moment for him, is being like, hey God, why are you like killing everything I love? And so then like God gives him.
He's rewarded with fresh new toys.
You're good. Yep.
So
there are places his wife and kids.
If God reaches down and smites your friends and family and all your crops, understand that a really cool new toy that you like is right around the corner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's my takeaway from the story. But he said something like, he does say something in this article about how, like, Job, one of the sort of messages of Job is like, it is what it is, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
But he ends his series by saying this, okay, Niall? As with our discussion of God and the soul, we have seen how our fascination with mysterious creatures provide a vehicle to our discussions of deeper theological and philosophical truths. If our interpretation of Job 40 to 41 is correct, and that the behemoth and leviathan are methods of teaching us theological truth, rather than a catalog of real animals, then our use of cryptozoology to catechize has ancient biblical roots. Perhaps Nessie, Bigfoot, and other cryptids might have a place in the new evangelization after all,
in the Ava
rebuilds, even if they do not currently have a place in biology textbooks.
Hey, Christians clamping on to cryptids before, stupid scientists do.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way to appeal to Gen Z.
Yeah, it could be a good. I mean,
Gen Alpha or whatever the fuck it is.
like a youth pastor's like turning his hat around. He's sitting backwards on a chair and he's facing like a bunch of like young teens, and he's just like, "You're all out there talking about how Mothman is caked up. You know who else is caked up? Jesus Christ."
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how they're gonna get him.
Then they make paper cutouts of Jesus' cheeks clapping.
Yep. Bricked up for the J-Man.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I couldn't do the youth pastor thing. I don't know enough. You've heard the extent of my outdated slang terms.
For a long time, my youth pastor, the way that they filled time was that they just like kept a bounce house. They just like rented a bounce house for like multiple months. So like anytime they didn't feel like doing something, they would just like inflate the bounce house. And literally, this was like to the point where my parents were like, who actually did do stuff with the church, so they had some input on this. Were like, why does he still have a bounce house? We've had it for months. Like, what is he doing? And it did, in part, I think, lead to him getting fired.
Oh, shit, really? Well, do you ever think about the fact that, like, I went to one of your Bible group things one time? That was so long ago.
One of the lock-ins,
but I went to one of those. It's funny going to those because, like, the youth pastor guy knew that I was raised in a Jewish household, and I seem to recall, I couldn't tell you what it was, but I seem to recall him asking me, like, from the Jewish perspective, what do you think this means? And I remember like having no answer whatsoever, because I was like, man, they just like, I don't know, they like sing in Hebrew, and then we talk about like why God's cool, and like that's kind of the extent of it.
That youth pastor was going to seminary and stuff, and was like really into the like modern reinterpretation from like a more evolved mind. Like he was really into that kind of stuff, and so that makes perfect sense.
So
also really into Dave Matthews Band.
Oh,
so
well, I do hope that he clear.
Those weren't the same youth pastors, by the way. The one that got fired is not the one that was in the Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah. But, well, there's, if there's any lesson to be taken from Rose's articles in the story of Job, there's always room for improvement. You listen to Dave Matthews now, maybe you don't later. You can always get rid of your sin over time, I guess is what I'm saying. Anyways, Niall, that was my strange exploration of Catholics and Bigfoot.
I would have not. I didn't. This is not an episode topic that I had thought to do. So I always have to commend you for like an angle on a thing that's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense for us to cover. I just wouldn't have thought of it.
Look, we've established this. I'm refreshing the brand.
I do like. Now this is not an endorsement of doing this a lot and going forward, but. Taking like a good half hour just talking about an article really did a good was.
I'll be completely honest. The reason that took up so much is because I desperately wanted to talk about it. It just came out.
Yeah.
And I was already thinking about doing something cryptid related, and I was kind of like looking into some other different unrelated stuff. And then I saw that article and I read the article and I was like, I have to talk about this. Like, I feel like we don't get groundbreaking news from the world of weird anymore, except for like on the most like I'm not going to sit here and talk about like, oh well, the current thing is Donald Trump's probably on the Epstein files if his aggressive pretending it doesn't exist is any indication, which, allegedly, this is a comedy podcast. But, like, I don't really want to talk about that because it's kind of funny, but, like, it's kind of just doing it itself, right? Like, it doesn't need me to talk about it.
It's pretty horrible.
So, yeah, the Yeti blood oath thing was just so important to me, and important that you heard it, and so here we are.
I saw the headline and accidentally scrolled past it and was like, I gotta look that thing back up later. And then I pressed record on this, and Kyle was like, I'm gonna just give you the rundown on this shit. And that is
It's rare. We really don't do that on this show, but
yeah, it works. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
I would happily do it again.
Now, with all that being said, Niall, speaking of refreshing the brand, are you ready for a big question?
Okay. Yeah. I'm ready for a big question.
You become the author of a new edition of the Bible, which now makes room for cryptozoological interpretations. Which cryptid do you think deserves a fresh new feature through this holy text? Who are you going to prominently feature in your version of the Bible?
I think I want to replace the whale in Jonah and the Whale with the Ningen.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm not going to be able to make a poll like that, but can you kind of talk about how that might go down?
I mean, I think it really just makes it bigger and better. We're really just kind of revitalizing the brand, and the Ningen is just a massive fucker that is going to eat this man.
So it's that story, but scarier, really.
Yeah, it really is just going to make it a lot scarier. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I had to think about this one, and it was hard, but I think that my biblical references are a bit Old Testament, if you will, a bit old school.
Sure.
So I think what I would like to suggest is when the Jews are trying to flee bondage in Egypt from Pharaoh, right? You know how their God comes down and he's like, listen, I'm about to sweep through there. I'm going to kill anything that moves if it's born first. You know how God's just like, I'm going to kill a bunch of children. I hope that kids out there, I hope you like reading this book.
Blood on your door.
You're going to need to take lamb's blood and you're going to put that across you're going to smear that across your doors, and when I see that, I'll spare you. So the point, and God's kind of talking to the people. He's like, the point of this is that I will recognize the people in bondage here, and then Pharaoh's people will suffer the consequences, and you can kind of just dodge it. This is like biblical draft dodging techniques handed to you by God himself. Correct. And I think what they're going to do instead is they're going to need to take the blood of the Jersey Devil, who is a goat-like creature.
It's true.
But
it's in the family.
In my version of this story, instead of goats, instead of lambs, we've got Jersey Devils. So a horned, winged, devilish goat creature. So you're going to have to picture a bunch of Jews in Egypt running around trying to catch these things. And I can't remember, does the Jersey Devil breathe fire? It's like an evil creature, right? It's kind of like a demonic thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a satanic thing.
So they're running around slitting these things' throats and painting their, and I think basically what I'm saying is if the Jersey Devil is an evil creature, then it's sort of a two birds one stone situation, because there's something horrifying about sacrificing a lamb, which is probably in whatever interpretation way that's the point.
Yes, some would say that's the point of sacrificing an innocent.
Right. For sure. But here we're going to just be nah, we're putting the evil cryptid under the bus.
We're going to take care of Egypt's Jersey Devil problem.
Yeah. And then maybe instead of a swarm of locusts, there's just there's a stampede of Fresno night crawlers. Just trampling the people in Egypt. So
I hate that's about the same level of I don't want to be on the streets during that.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And think about how utilitarian it is to not waste space with a stampede, a full. Think about how much of a pain in the ass it's it's a stampede of cattle, right? And it's well, we got to go round those back up. Stampede of Fresno nightcrawlers, they'll disappear into the night, and they're just legs and feet, which is all you need to do a stampede, really. So you're saving space in that way.
Yeah, it's very economical.
Yeah,
it's efficient.
So
Yeah, sure. Well, look, sometimes you just have to say something authoritatively.
Thank you.
That's damn efficient for a stampede, and because of that,
Thank
it's
you.
better.
Wow, this has been one of I gotta admit, one of the weirder episodes we've done in a minute.
We both are just kind of free associating
It's
a little
true.
bit, and we haven't done that in a minute.
It's true. So thank you, Niall, for joining me on my journey to discover what Catholicism has to say. I honestly can't imagine this is it. There has to be more. But the thing is, when you look into this, you find a lot of people who are just like, I'm a Catholic, and also I happen to believe in Bigfoot, and here's why.
Yeah.
Which is not that interesting, honestly. Like, so I was happy to find somebody who was just like, I am a professional theologist, and here's how we can talk about Bigfoot in Catholicism. That was nice. But there, again, I would love to find out if there is like a full story attached to the Bigfoot equals Cain thing in the future. Anyways,
It's probably the Book of Mormon.
yeah,
So.
exactly. So yeah, well,
All right.
are you ready to move on to some business?
Yeah, let's take care of some business. So if you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird, and we're almost certainly there.
We're on Blue Sky at It Gets Weird. Give us a follow. We'll be posting new episodes when they go live there. Twitch.tv/It Gets Weird. I got back into streaming some Pokemon with our good friend Colin. Colin and I will hop on stream basically every weekend and play some fun video games. So it's a good time. So come check it out. Twitch.tv/It Gets Weird. Email us. itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to need a follow-up email on the Mirrored Men. So go ahead and hit us up. But also other people, please feel free. We actually have a couple... We've been getting some good emails lately. I poke a lot of fun at our listeners who I care for. But also it's fun to crack jokes. And so people did take, I think, the invitation to not talk about fetishes for a couple emails. They did take that seriously. So we've been getting some good stuff. So thank you, everybody, for contacting us. So email us, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. If you have like a cool story, something that you're interested in, something that you experienced or somebody you know experienced, please let us know. We might read it on the show if it's good. Just let us know how we should address you and send that email as soon as you can. But if you really want to support us, check out patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $1 tier, a $2 tier, and a $5 tier. The $1 tier, that's the tip. That's the tip jar. You're just giving us a buck saying, hey, thanks for doing what you do. Here's a buck. $2 tier, you get It Gets Weird TV every other week. A TV show, a podcast where Niall and I talk about weird television. Right now we are in the X-Files season 3, which is fantastic. We're having a great time talking about the X-Files. We've talked about 2 other seasons of the X-Files plus a bunch of other shows. There's a huge backlog of content even at the $2 level. But if you want the most bang for your buck, there's the $5 level where Niall and I are doing a show called World of Weird, where we talk about whatever the hell we want. And it comes out in the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. So you're getting bonus content every single week on your own private Patreon feed. Whether you donate to the $2 tier, the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday on that Patreon feed, and you get access to a Discord chat where we're hanging out, chatting with our listeners directly. It's a great time. We have a fun time there chatting with people. So please, we really, really appreciate all the support that we can get from people. You've all been so gracious in helping us over these past couple years. Like I said, we kind of had some technical issues that were resolved because we have your support. So thank you again. But please check out patreon.com/itgetsweird. Now, if you can't donate, if it's not possible for you, money's tight, you're going to want to go ahead and let people know about It Gets Weird Podcast, your favorite podcast on weird subjects like baptizing Bigfoot. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird Podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for continuing to support the show. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.
Peace.